Testing, testing. Okay, let's try that. All right, let's see here. Can you guys hear me now? Arg. There we are. Maybe. Okay, perfect. All right. Good morning, everybody. This is your wake up call at Maui Paul. Now with sound. It's amazing. It was a silent film for just a while, which kind of stinks because of how we kind of need stuff. We need words on this broadcast. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for bearing with me through the sound no worky issue. This is your wake up call with Maui Paul. I am Maui Paul. We are here today to say some nice things about ourselves. And we're going to be doing it with my I Am card deck, which is just full of positive, amazing affirmations. Good morning to everybody who has arrived here thus far today. Nice to see you, Jan and Lauren. Good morning, Shauna. Good to see you here as well. Good morning, Susan. Yeah, fantastic that you guys are all here on this amazing Wednesday to get our daily dose of positivity. So yeah, we are here today to say some nice stuff about us. I'm going to pull a card off the top of the deck. I'm going to ask you if you are the affirmation on the card, and we are going to respond out loud together. I am that affirmation. As we do that, we are building into our own lives, and we are ultimately opening up new possibilities for ourselves, even as we go through our day. So let's have some fun. Let's pull a card off the top of the deck, and let's say that today I am elevated. I am elevated. I ascend toward my highest potential. So I am elevated. I ascend toward my highest potential. Are you elevated? You are elevated. You ascend toward your highest potential. And I'm going to write that in the comments this morning. I am elevated. I ascend to my highest potential. All right, you ladies are beating me to it as per usual, but we are elevated today. We really do ascend to our highest potential. Each and every day is an opportunity for us to be better than we were before, for us to be more experienced than we were before, for us to deal with the same situations that we've dealt with before, but in a better way. And ultimately, isn't that kind of the point of life? Isn't that why we're here? Aren't we here to fulfill the highest potential? Aren't we here to be the best, the biggest, the boldest versions of ourselves? Of course we are. And not just for ourselves. We're not doing this for us. We're doing this for the people around us. Certainly, we get tremendous benefit out of achieving our highest potentials. But in the end, it's not just us that benefits, it's the world around us. It's the generations that come after us. It's the people that we have the privilege of being able to influence as we go through our lives. And so we are elevated. We ascend toward our highest potential. And when I think about my own life, and the vast majority of, I guess, the consternation that I've had in my life has typically revolved around some sense that I could be doing more, that I wasn't living up to my full potential, that I was playing small. And I remember that my own journey of self-discovery, my own journey of self-development, pretty much it was catalyzed by this overarching sense of me just going through the motions of life and me being dissatisfied with that. I was very dissatisfied with just going through the motions. I felt like I had a tremendous amount of love to give, and I had a tremendous amount of potential in my life, and I wasn't actually doing anything to develop that. And so one of the really catalytic events, I guess, in my own life was when I just woke up in the middle of the night one night, and I was living down in Costa Rica, and at the time I was running a restaurant that I didn't really want to run, and I was running it right into the ground, which is not the best place to run a business, but that's what was happening. And I felt like I was completely disconnected from the people around me. I felt like I was disconnected from my own dreams, from my own interests. I felt like I was living somebody else's life. And in so many ways, even though my life was very different than the default lifestyle that I left behind, I still felt like there was a lot more that I could do. And at the same time, I didn't entirely know how to do it. But I remember that I had this absolute epiphany where I realized that if my life wasn't the way that I wanted it to be, that nobody was going to come and give me permission to change it. Nobody was going to come give me a permission slip. Nobody was going to come say, "Hey, by the way, I'm now going to completely change your life." I mean, like I was expecting other people to be responsible for my life. And I don't know why that was. I don't know where I got that idea, but obviously it's not one that is grounded in reality at all. But when I did get that idea, when I did recognize that I was the one who was standing in my own way, then I realized that I also was empowered to make a change. And no, I didn't like the changes. The changes were not exactly pleasant because I had been moving in one direction for so long that there was a whole lot of inertia pushing me in the direction that I did not want to go. And so it took some work, but I figured out more about what I actually wanted, what I actually was interested in. And as I did that, then I was able to make the small daily changes. I instituted small daily changes that slowly changed my course. I didn't change my course immediately. I didn't make some big U-turn. I didn't have some Saul of Tarsus moment where my life completely changed all in one instant. But rather, what happened to me was that I just very slowly started to decide what parts of my life that I liked, what parts of my life I did not like, and then I decided that I was going to move more toward the parts that I liked and just step away from the parts that I didn't. It wasn't about a year since when I had that realization that my life had completely changed, and and had changed for the better. And I'm not saying that it was perfect because it certainly was not, but it definitely had more of what I wanted in it and less of what I didn't want in it. And so, as I look at this card today, I realize that human potential is a limitless thing. We I have seen people with all kinds of different roadblocks in their life, different stumbling blocks in their life, overcome these things, and in the end, live a life that's absolutely beautiful, absolutely amazing. I uh, I was reminded of a friend of mine who, he's passed away now, but for the first part of his life, he was very into drugs, he was very into alcohol, and he really didn't want to live. He was miserable. He just didn't want to live. And I remember that, he had a rock bottom moment. He ended up in rehab, and he completely changed his life around. Something happened to him when he was there that made him completely change the way that he was living. And at the time that happened, I mean, he was at rock bottom. He had lost his house, he had lost his spouse, he had lost everything. His kids didn't know where he was. His wife or his ex-wife didn't know where he was. And nobody knew where he was. Nobody really cared about him. And I remember that he was talking to me about this, and he was saying that he just had some really profound realizations about how his life was, it was the product of all the decisions that he had made. And consequently, he realized that he could make different decisions. And even though it sucked, even though it was terrible, even though for him it involved doing things like overcoming tremendous addiction and being in rehab facilities for years after he had made the choice, but he still recognized that every single day he could get up and that he could be a little bit better every day. And I was reminded of him. He's passed away now, but I was reminded of him because I keep a little reminder of him on my keychain. And just a little, it's called a penny from heaven that he gave to me. It was just a penny with a cross that had a hole in it. And so I was like, what am I going to do with this penny with a little cross-shaped hole in it? And so I stuck it on my keychain as a reminder of him. And so I was actually driving my car the other day, and I had my keys jangling out, and of course, that little penny from heaven was just on my keychain, and I was just reminded of him, and that's kind of what made me think about our potential. It made me think about how we can overcome so much, and in the end, live a very fulfilled life. By the time that he passed away, he was living a very fulfilled life. He was happy with his life, and he had managed to get another house. He had managed to get his spouse back. His wife took him back, and his he had managed to build a totally different career from scratch. The guy was an absolute genius, and he was able to manifest a lot of change in his world. And so I am elevating today, and you are elevated too. And our lives are about ascending toward our highest potential. And as we do that, then a rising tide lifts all ships. And so we are able to not just benefit ourselves, but also benefit the world around us, and even benefit the people who come after us, the people who get to live in the world that we are creating. Because let me tell you, there is a whole generation of people who gets to live in the world that we are creating. And we owe it to ourselves to create a better world for them. We owe it to and we owe it to them as well. So today, this card is our permission slip to really make the changes that are required to decide in our lives what parts of our lives can stay, what parts of our lives do we need to build into, and what parts of our lives need to go, what parts of our lives are a liability to us. And as we do that, as we recognize that, as we move in that direction, then the decisions that we get to make every single day are made from more solid footing. Just like when I decided to make the changes in my life didn't instantly change. I didn't wake up the next morning as a different person. I woke up the next morning as the same person, but with a slightly different perspective. And even though I still had a whole lot of stuff in my life that sucked, that I really did not like or want to be there, at the very least I understood that I was making the right choices in order to get these things out of my life. That I was making the right choices that were going to put me into a better position for all of my tomorrows. So our choices today, the way that we move toward our highest potential, the way look, the way that we look, the way that we incline our eyes is the direction that we're going to go. And so, my beautiful friends, I encourage you to recognize that you're elevated today. Recognize that you are on an upward trajectory. Recognize that you have untapped human potential, and limitless human potential. Man, we can make such incredible changes in our lives that if somebody had told us that these things were going to happen, that we would have just kind of like laughed it off and told them to, please go away and stop bothering us and go take your meds. And yet, when I look at what's happened to me in any given 5-year period in my life, it has typically been completely different. Everything has been completely different from one 5-year period to the next. And so I am elevated. You are elevated today as well. And we ascend toward our highest potential. This looks like I have a bunch of folks who came in today. Thank you guys so much for attending the wake-up call. Good morning again to you, Janet, and good morning, Lauren. Good morning, Shauna, and let's see, Susan. One fantastic to see you ladies here today. Good morning, let's see here. Good morning, Tammy and Maya. And I think good morning, Armando and Lane. Wonderful to see all of you today here as well. I will return tomorrow at 9 a.m. with another one of these, and we will continue to build into our own lives. Until then, I hope I've given you guys some valuable perspective, and if you feel like this message is worth spreading, I just urge you to share it so that the Facebook algorithm knows, the YouTube algorithm knows that that this is a message that is worthy of being served out to others. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, this is just your daily reminder that I love you and appreciate you, and that I care about you, and that I believe all of these things that I say about you, and that as we all are elevated together, that we have this incredible privilege to change the world. And so let's do that today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, aloha from paradise.